I'm going to start off this video with a couple of disclaimers. Number one, my views and opinions here are not a personal slight. They're not a personal affront. They're not a knock on the man as a human being. I hope he goes on and has a legendary Hall of Fame career that they talk about for decades to come. Number two, no matter how much of an expert somebody is or claims to be on social media, when it comes to the draft process in sports, there is no such thing as a guarantee. Bottom line is this: when it comes to a draft, it is the world's biggest crapshoot. You don't know if you're going to come up aces. You don't know if you're going to come up with a 2 and a 7 in a game of poker. I mean, I could give you multiple examples of players that were supposedly predicted for superstardom that fell flat on their ass. I'll give you a few right off the bat here. Back in 2007 in the NBA draft, when the Portland Trail Blazers selected Greg Oden over Kevin Durant, nobody batted an eye. As a matter of fact, if the script would have been flipped at the time, people would have gone bananas saying that the Trailblazers made a colossal error. Well, Kevin Durant's gone on to have a legendary Hall of Fame career and will retire as one of the 75 greatest players that ever lived. Greg Oden's been out of the league for over a decade. Back in 1998, many media sources and experts claimed that the Indianapolis Colts made a colossal mistake by passing on Ryan Leaf for Peyton Manning. How'd that prediction turn out? I mean, there's a reason why Tom Brady and John Randall wind up going 6th and undrafted respectively, while Jamarcus Russell went number 1 overall, was called John Elway Light by Mel Kiper Jr. before he ever took a snap in the NFL. And Vernon Gholston wound up going in the top 5 and was considered the next generation of pass rushers. Well, we all saw how that turned out. Both players were out of the league before their 4th year. And Vernon Gholston had as many sacks in the NFL as I have. Crapshoot, folks. Giant crapshoot. All right, that being said, welcome everybody. My name is JP. If you're new to my channel, thank you for joining me. Welcome aboard. If you're returning to the madness and insanity, welcome back. I applaud you. All right, now to me, again, every player comes with a risk factor from Trevor Lawrence on down to Mr. Irrelevant. But there is one in this draft who I think is the ultimate boom bust. He's either going to make people look like geniuses and make them a lot of money and solidify them as icons in this sport, or he's going to get a whole lot of people fired. And that man, Trey Lance. Bottom line is this, folks. The San Francisco 49ers gave up a bounty to move up to get this pick, which they used on Lance. Putting this into perspective of how much they traded, their package to Miami was bigger than what the Bears paid up to get Khalil Mack. It was more than what the Rams paid up to get Jalen Ramsey. Mack and Ramsey were solidified Pro Bowlers. Jamal Adams did not fetch that much from the Seattle Seahawks or from when the Jets traded him. We're talking 3 players that had established themselves as elite Pro Bowl, even all-pro caliber players. Meanwhile, we're talking about Trey Lance, who is, again, the biggest question mark in this year's draft that's never taken a snap. I mean, the only comparison I can make to this, that where a player was the bounty was paid high for him, got to go back to when the Rams and Redskins pulled off the trade, or now the Washington Football Team pulled off the blockbuster, where the Washington Football Team paid a Minnesota Mint, for lack of a better term, to move up and get Robert Griffin III, who at that point was far more established than Trey Lance is. This guy was a Heisman Trophy winner that dominated the Big 12. Trey Lance had a cup of coffee in the FCS level at North Dakota State. Make no mistake about it. The traits are there with this kid. He's got, that tireless work ethic. He's got that attitude. He's driven to succeed. But there's a lot of things about him that scare the hell out of me. And if this man does not hit big, there's no middle ground here, ladies and gentlemen. Good will not be good enough. This guy's got to me, be next level, the next great San Francisco 49er quarterback in order to justify this. Because even if he is okay, for what they gave up, they don't have a draft pick for the next 2 years. So the 49ers can stink in a colossal fashion. They could pull a Detroit Lions or Cleveland Browns and go winless. And they don't have a pick to show for it. That goes to Miami. So, again, it's a huge risk. And you're talking about a player who has questionable deep ball, who has questionable accuracy. He's got good footwork, but he also feasted on FCS competition and below. He never played a FBS school. He never played, we're not talking a Power 5 team. He didn't even face a Mountain West school. So he's looked very good against subpar competition. No disrespect to those players, but believe me, there's a big difference between Towson State and the Baltimore Ravens. There's a difference between North Dakota and the Minnesota Vikings. It's going to be a tough transition. And for a man who does not have a good deep ball, for a man whose accuracy is subpar, this is scary. And make no bones about it, he is, to me, is somebody that's going to need a year or two of seasoning before they even think of throwing him to the Wolves. That may not be the case. And can they afford to do that with him? Being they gave up so much to get him. Do you sit this man on the pine and let him develop when you gave up essentially 3 first-round picks to get him? I just, to me, way too risky, way too much of a gamble. I think if they were going to move up, they should have taken Justin Fields, who, yes, he needs some seasoning, but I think he's more game ready than Trey Lance is. Again, we're talking about a man who had a 12-game body of work. Well, 13 game because he played 1 game this year and then sat out for COVID. But you're talking a man who had a 13-game body of work against FCS competition. We're talking somebody, folks, who not one FBS school offered a scholarship to play football as a quarterback for. Not one. There were schools that wanted him. Minnesota wanted him, was his home state. They wanted to move him to defense. That was across the board. Nobody wanted this man as a quarterback. They all wanted him to play defense, and there is a reason why. Okay? And believe me, I mean, you can't tell me there's not Wyoming, Boise State, Utah State. There's not one of those schools that would have taken him as a quarterback. That's concerning to me. So Kyle Shanahan's going to have his work cut out for him with him. And as I said, if this move does not pan out, it's going to cost a lot of people their jobs. My hope is there for Trey Lance. The fact that he didn't give up after getting basically rejected by the FBS, and he went to North Dakota State and had this chip on his shoulder, that tells something about him. If he doesn't make it, it won't be because the effort's not there. I just wonder, again, the level of competition. He's stepping up 10 feet into the deep pool. He went from swimming in the kiddie pool to jumping into the deep end of the Pacific Ocean. That's not easy. And he's going to a conference with monster defenses. The Seahawks got that amazing defense, the secondary that gets better and better, the pass rush game. You got the Rams with Aaron Donald, the Cardinals that get better and better on the defensive side every year. It's not going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination. And again, this is going to be the ultimate boom bust. Circle back to this, though, folks. If I'm wrong, I will gladly take accountability and say I'm wrong and jump on here in 7, 8, 9, 10 years if we're still here and say, hey, JP, you missed badly. I'll be glad to eat crow if I do. But that's my prediction. And in the meantime, I'm going to stick to it. I could be wrong. I hope I am. Anyway, this has been JP. Thank you for tuning in. I will talk to you again next time. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Please help me get the word out because it certainly does help me with those always famous YouTube algorithms. Take it easy, guys.